Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're doing something a little bit different. We are impartially untangling a highly intricate, incredibly fast-paced narrative laid out by the YouTube channel Matt Moore's TV. Now, to really understand this source material, we have to ground ourselves in its exact, very specific premise. According to the timeline presented in the video, it is the year 2026, and the internet is absolutely buzzing with speculation. The commentator builds this fascinating, almost movie-like scenario full of high-stakes political drama, midnight military extractions, and global conspiracies. So whether you're already familiar with these claims or you're hearing them for the very first time, our goal today is to map out the anatomy of this narrative, piece by piece. We're going to see exactly how modern high-stakes internet lore is constructed. Let's dive right in. So how does it all start? Picture this. The commentator begins with a classic inciting incident designed to hook the audience right from the jump, a reported post on Truth Social. This sudden, highly mysterious status update simply announced a Thursday night speech to the nation at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. That's it. The source highlights just how abnormal and abrupt this is, pointing out that a speech announced without any stated topic instantly sends shockwaves across the nation. I mean, it really is the perfect narrative hook, isn't it? A sudden announcement, a ticking clock, and zero initial context. Which naturally leads us right into the central mystery. What on earth is the big announcement? Well, you don't have to wait long. Shortly after, the Oval Office supposedly confirmed that the speech would center squarely on election security and election interference. The commentator actually quotes the president, asserting that this announcement is going to be really, really big news, and that it gets right to the fundamental necessity of free and fair elections. Okay, so the stage is completely set for a massive reveal. And to really escalate the gravity of this speech, it's reportedly not just going to be a solo address. The broadcast will supposedly feature newly declassified intelligence reports. To back up those reports, the narrative provides a very specific, incredibly high-level guest list of top intelligence and security officials who will be in the room. We're talking about CIA Director John Ratcliffe, Acting Director of National Intelligence Bill Pai, FBI Director Kesh Patel, and DHS Secretary Mark Wainwollen. Just by listing these figures, the story establishes this profound sense of authority and seriousness about the intelligence that's supposedly about to drop. Now, before we go global, a major initial focus of this Thursday speech is supposedly aimed right at the state of Georgia. The claim is that the speech will announce that two sitting Georgia Democratic senators, Jon Ossoff and Raphael Warnock, are illegitimate due to fraud and interference in the 2020 election. And the narrative goes even further, claiming White House officials supposedly briefed Georgia state Republicans in advance about this specific focus. But the source quickly teases us. While Georgia might be the starting point, the scope of this declassified intelligence is going to get much, much wider. Right here, we get a hard pivot. The narrative jumps from domestic politics straight into a full-blown international thriller. We're suddenly transported back to a major tactical dilemma that allegedly took place in January of 2026, involving Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro. A hypothetical is posed by the source. President Trump had option A, which was to easily eliminate Maduro via an airstrike or a Tomahawk missile. The commentator literally calls this child's play. But instead, Trump supposedly chose option B, a highly dangerous midnight Delta Force extraction, just to capture him alive. And according to this incredibly elaborate lore, this wasn't just some theoretical war game. It actually happened in January 2026. We're given this cinematic midnight raid, complete with Delta Force operatives, Apache helicopters providing aerial support, infiltrating a highly guarded compound in Caracas to forcefully apprehend Maduro. American forces reportedly, quote, trudged through hell to extract him, ultimately bringing the Venezuelan leader back to U.S. soil alive. But honestly, hearing about this cinematic extraction forces an overarching question. Why? Why risk American lives to capture a foreign leader alive when a drone strike was allegedly right there on the table? Okay, to answer that why, we have to dig into the historical lore the source is building here. Maduro is presented as the ultimate kingpin of a massive proprietary election rigging system. This technology was supposedly first created by Venezuelan engineers way back in 1997 under the name Smartmatic. Fast forward to 2003, and Hugo Chavez, along with a younger Nicolas Maduro, allegedly built a specialized rigging system on the back of that exact technology. And then the narrative hits its absolute peak. It claims that over the last 2 decades, this system has been used to rig elections in 72 different countries around the world. And, crucially, that includes the 2020 U.S. presidential election. Now, you have to ask yourself, how was this grand global conspiracy supposedly uncovered in the first place? Enter the whistleblowers. The story goes that during the 2024 general presidential election, a group of former Venezuelan Smartmatic employees came forward. They reportedly blew the whistle on the entire Maduro regime's history of voter fraud and handed over undeniable proof directly to the Trump 2024 presidential campaign trail. The source even claims these whistleblowers worked alongside the campaign to prevent Maduro from successfully deploying the rigging system a second time in the 2024 U.S. election. Of course, massive claims need some heavy backing, right? The narrative points to a very specific list of corroborators. We're given high-profile figures and leaked documents as supposed evidence. Former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn, former federal prosecutor Sidney Powell, and former White House press correspondent Emerald Robinson are all cited by the source as having publicly corroborated this entire story. On top of that, a batch of classified State Department documents, allegedly leaked by WikiLeaks in 2020, supposedly breaks down and confirms this whole election rigging narrative. And then, adding just a whole other layer to the story, a very recognizable modern figure gets thrown into the mix. Drawn from the whistleblower's reported narrative, there's a really surprising claim that Elon Musk was directly involved in stopping the rigging of the 2024 election. The source claims the Maduro regime attempted to use their system in 2024, just like they supposedly did in 2020, but that Elon Musk personally intervened and helped completely shut that attempt down. So let's bring all these tactical and political dots together. A very clear three-step process emerges to explain the upcoming Thursday speech. Step 1 was that wild January 2026 Delta Force extraction of Maduro. Step 2 represents the 6-month gap between his capture and the present day in their timeline. For those 6 months, Maduro has allegedly been in U.S. custody, desperately trying to cut a plea deal, singing like a songbird, and spilling the secrets of the entire global rigging operation. All of this allowed the administration to connect the dots and build a rock-solid case. Which leads directly to Step 3, this highly anticipated Thursday address, where all of this meticulously gathered evidence will finally be declassified for the American people. And the timing of all this? The source heavily emphasizes that this isn't random. This Thursday speech supposedly takes place exactly 4 months ahead of the upcoming midterms. It's framed as the ultimate calculated moment for maximum political fallout. This is presented as the absolute perfect time to uncover the truth and ensure maximum political accountability right before the nation heads to the polls. And we end on a really lingering, provocative thought that massively expands the scope of this entire story. While the speech might kick off with 2 Georgia senators and the 2020 presidential race, the supposed global and domestic scale of this operation is staggering. If a proprietary system has really been rigging elections across 72 countries for 2 decades, we are absolutely forced to ask. God knows how many other sitting politicians, whether we're talking the House, the Senate, mayors, or governors, have been influenced or illegitimately placed by this system. It's a sweeping, heavy question designed to leave the audience completely doubting the foundation of every electoral race. Regardless of whether you buy into this timeline or not, it truly is a masterclass in how intricate, high-stakes narratives are built, layered, and spread in the modern digital age.